They say revenge is best served cold. But what they don't tell you is how long you must learn to live in the cold before it becomes part of you. 10 years. 10 years of silence. 10 years of smiling while bleeding. 10 years of turning pain into precision. He didn't just leave me. He and my best friend tried to erase me. And they almost did. Almost. But I learned something in the dark. Power isn't taken in anger. It takes patience. Daniel, my husband. Elise, my best friend. Two people I would have burned the world for. Turns out, they burned it first. When I found out, it wasn't through whispers. It was through a transfer receipt, $125,000 missing from our joint account. To E. Parker Media Consulting. Her company. When I confronted them, they didn't even deny it. Daniel just looked at me calm, detached. And said, "You've been too emotional lately. Maybe you should get help." Help. That was his word for betrayal. A week later, he filed for divorce. Elise testified against me and said I'd threatened her. Fake messages. Fabricated evidence. They painted me unstable. Dangerous. I walked out of that courtroom with nothing. No home. No job. No name that meant anything. It's funny. People think heartbreak kills you. It doesn't. It just buries you alive and waits to see if you'll dig your way out. I vanished. New city. New name. A one-bedroom apartment that smelled like mold and memory. Every morning, I'd stare at my reflection and ask, "Who are you without them?" At first, I didn't have an answer. But then I realized I could become anyone. I worked in a small accounting firm. Quietly. Invisible. Numbers became my language. They never lied. They never betrayed. And through numbers, I began to see patterns. Daniel's company, the one he'd stolen from me, was growing fast. Too fast. Every quarter profit spikes, offshore accounts, inflated reports. That's when it started. My obsession. My education. My revenge. I took night classes in corporate law. Learned the market. Learned how power moves. Not in explosions, but in whispers. Every paycheck I invested. Small amounts. Quietly buying pieces of companies connected to him. Until eventually, I started buying his. For years, I played the market like a ghost. Anonymous, silent, strategic. Daniel and Elise climbed higher. The perfect couple on magazine covers. Smiles polished like mirrors hiding cracks. They hosted galas, charity auctions. Power with heart, Elise would say in interviews. I'd watch her smile on TV and think, how fragile she looked under all that gloss. Then came the first leak. A whistleblower from their accounting division. Something about creative budgeting. I traced it. Every invoice, every transfer. And what I found was gold. Millions siphoned into shell companies. Signatures that didn't match. And the person authorizing them? Elise. Daniel defended her, of course. He always did. But the cracks were spreading. That's when I made my move. When their company went public, I was already waiting. Not in the spotlight but in the shadows. Buying quietly, anonymously. Every time someone sold their shares, I was there, an unseen hand, collecting pieces. Piece by piece, I became the storm they never saw coming. By the time they realized I existed, I owned 37% of their empire. Enough to call a vote. Enough to demand answers. Enough to destroy them from the inside. The annual shareholders' meeting. The crown jewel of their arrogance. A ballroom dressed in gold and glass. Reporters. Cameras. Investors sipping champagne. Daniel took the stage first. Older now. Thinner. But his voice still confident. Elise beside him, every inch the queen. Until she saw me. Her face. It was like watching a ghost crawl out of a grave. I didn't smile. I didn't blink. I just watched her crumble behind that perfect mask. Then the chairman's voice broke the silence. Our controlling shareholder would like to address the room. And I stood. Each step echoed like thunder. 10 years of pain compressed into heels on marble. When I reached the podium, I placed my folder on the glass. I opened it. I looked at Daniel. And said, I have evidence of financial misconduct. Fraud. Embezzlement. Misuse of investor funds. I projected everything on the screens. Emails. Bank transfers. Voice memos. Every signature forged. Every dollar stolen. Every lie caught in data they thought was deleted. Daniel's jaw locked. Elise trembled. The room silent. Then someone shouted, "Is this true?" And I didn't even need to answer. Their faces said everything. Within minutes, board members began calling emergency sessions. Security whispered into radios. I watched it unfold. The empire collapsing under its own deceit. And I said only one more sentence. I'm calling a vote for immediate termination. Unanimous. They were finished. By morning, it was everywhere. Golden couple exposed in multi-million fraud scandal. Their faces on every screen. Their names stripped from every title. Their home raided. Daniel was arrested for obstruction. Elise for falsifying records. The empire they built from lies. Crumbled in the daylight they used to crave. I didn't celebrate. I didn't drink champagne. I just went home. Sat by the window. And listened to the rain. 10 years ago, that sound broke me. Now. It sounded like peace. A month later, I was appointed interim CEO. The company needed stability. They needed leadership. They needed me. I rebuilt what they had poisoned. Cut the rot. Restored what mattered. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel vengeance. I felt in control. People call me ruthless. Maybe I am. But ruthlessness built on truth isn't cruelty. It's justice. They tried to bury me in lies. But they forgot one thing. I know how to dig. And now, I stand above the ruins they made. Untouched, unbroken, and in absolute control. Revenge isn't destruction. It's reclamation. And I reclaimed everything. The company. My name. My story. So yes. I destroyed my ex and his new wife. But what I really destroyed was the version of me who ever needed their love. Share your story in the comments. I'll be reading. And don't forget to hit subscribe because the next story might just be yours.